Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Faculty Lounge today. We are glad you could stop by. We have a presentation today by Justin Brooksby, here, the manager of the UEN Professional Development Department. And he's going to talk about OverDrive, which is a great tool, a great app. I seem to use it a couple times a week, it seems like. So I'm going to let him jump in and explain all about it and show you what a great resource it is for you and possibly your students. So just a reminder, if you have a question or a comment, you can use the chat room and down in that lower left corner. And Justin will
Thanks,
answer
Tim.
those questions either
Yeah,
at
I'm
the
real
end
excited
or
about
as he sees them.
sharing with you guys
All
today
right, Justin, it's all
OverDrive.
yours.
So it looks like my main theme is going to be libraries and books, since I recently presented on the Mayan books. So it's been the OverDrive software has gone through a lot of changes over the last couple of years. And I'm not sure how long it's been since each of you have looked at it, but hopefully you learned some new things today. It renews and invigorates your interest in reading, and it renews and invigorates students to read more, because this really does open up access to students to read and get them excited about it. It puts the world at their fingertips, and that's what I love most about the digital eBooks and using them. So wanted to talk to you a little bit today about OverDrive, and it's hard to do that just isolating itself on its own, because really what OverDrive is kind of an aggregator to bring in lots of different types of ebooks. The great thing about it is it works very smoothly with your local library. So basically what you can do is take ebooks from your library, whether they are written ebooks or they're audiobooks. You can take them and put them on almost any device you want. And the app doesn't cost anything, and thankfully library memberships don't cost anything. So this is something we can do free of cost. And I was looking at the number of platforms support on this, and it's pretty much everything. So there's apps for the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Android, Windows Phone. I mean, if it's on Windows Phone, it's pretty impressive. BlackBerry, that's even more impressive. It's on BlackBerry and Playbook. It works on Kindle, Nook, Mac, Windows, so on your desktop, and Windows 8. So quite a comprehensive list of supported devices. So I'm going to just kind of go through with you a little bit on the different features that you can do. I've shared I'm going to share my iPad with you. And this is my first time sharing my iPad on my computer here. I had to go through some pretty rigorous setups to do that. Tim luckily showed me how to do it, and I think it's going to work. So I am going to share that with you, and we'll see how this works. And then I probably won't see any of your questions until the end, because I'm sharing my screen. And if they're of utter importance, then Tim can interrupt me and read the question to me. That would be great. And usually what happens to me is I usually get kicked out as a presenter as soon as I start sharing my screen. So, and then Tim, if you could just give me a verbal that you can see my screen, that'd be great. Okay. So I've downloaded the OverDrive app for my iPad here, and I'm just going to open it up. And the first thing that you're going to need to do when you get OverDrive is you're going to create several different accounts. Okay, so there's an OverDrive 1 account, and then you'll probably want to open an Adobe account, and you'll also need a library account at your local library. So first of all, what you're looking at right here is just kind of my bookshelf. If I swipe from the left-hand side off the screen and slide onto the screen, I can get to this menu selection here. It's pretty smooth. Or I can tap in the top left and get that same menu screen. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is set up an OverDrive 1 account. And if you look kind of right underneath the bookshelf there, it says OverDrive 1. I'm going to click on that. And you can see I've already signed in. If you haven't created an account, you'll need to create an account. But once you do, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. And you have a couple different things you can put in here. So you can put in titles that you've read. I didn't put any in yet, but those would show up there. You can have your favorite genres, and I have kind of a weird taste, but you can see what kind of books I like. And you can put your preferred format for how you want OverDrive to pull up suggestions for you. So I test to have eBooks and Audiobooks. And then the libraries, I'll show you how to set that up, but that's where you're pulling content from. I live in the city of Lehigh, so the city of Lehigh uses Pioneer, Utah's online library. It's where it pulls its stuff. And then you can have communication preferences if you want some of their emails. And one of the things I really like, so based on, it's kind of like Netflix. You go in and put different movies you've seen, what your favorite genres are. And this will give you some suggestions. So it says maybe suggest mystery titles at Pioneer Utah's online library, and I can see 4 sections there. I can click the next button and kind of go through these and look at the different selections if I'm not quite sure what book to read. But that's how the suggestions work in OverDrive. And I really like that a lot, because sometimes I have a hard time deciding on what the next book is that I'm going to read. Okay, so I'm going to show you now how to, so that's your OverDrive account. I'm going to show you now how to add a library account. And the most important thing that you will need to remember is a library card. Because to add a library account, you need to have your library number that should be on the back of your library card. And so you can see I've added the Utah's Online Library. That actually is my Lehigh City library account. And then underneath that, where it says Pioneer Online Library, I can click Add a Library. And then I can search or browse for libraries. So the library that I used to belong to when I lived in Salt Lake County, which I moved to Utah County, is the Salt Lake County Library. And I can type that in here and hit search. And I don't know why it pulls up all these others, but you can see down here it has Salt Lake County Library System. And you can click on that, and that's going to basically pull you. So this is pulling content from another web page. Basically, it's just pulling the library's login menu to you. And so that's what you see right here. And if I did have an account, I would click on the little person icon at the top where it says account, and it would ask me for my library card credentials. So don't look at that number there. That's my library account number. And it wouldn't let me. So that's where you can put your library card number and your PIN that goes along with it. If you've forgotten your PIN, you can get it from your library. Okay, and then once you're logged in, I'll show you what that looks like. So I don't want Salt Lake County on there, so I'm going to just click Edit, and I'm going to take Salt Lake County off. I was just showing you that for demonstration purposes. I can click Done, and then I can click on my library account here. Okay. So I'm going to get back to this in just a second, but I wanted to show you the Adobe account, which you need. So if you slide over, you can get into the settings and go into settings, and then the top left it says Adobe authorization. So this is your Adobe ID. If you've ever done anything with Adobe now, they're asking for these Adobe IDs. So if you haven't created one, just Google Adobe ID. It's the same thing as Adobe Cloud Services. You can create an account and then authorize the device, which in this case is the iPad, to use this Adobe account. And the reason why you want to do that is because there are Adobe EPUB ebook formats that you will want to be able to download to your device from the library. So that's the Adobe piece there. Okay. And one of the great things, and I'll show you this in a little bit about the Adobe format, is that you can actually return your books early. So if you have it checked out for 14 days and you finish it, if it's a really good book, you can finish it in a day or two, then you can return it. You don't have to wait for the time. Not all the ebook formats will do that. So anyways, let's see. Okay. So while we're on the screen, just some of the other settings that you can do in OverDrive. You can tell it if you want to allow for cellular download, if you have a lot of minutes, or not minutes, but if you have a lot of gigs or megabits to megabytes to download on the cellular, you can or not. Automatic syncing, you can sync bookmarks and where you are in the book and your titles and selections with other devices. The GetBooks in Safari, there's actually a feature which I'll show you, but it's called OverDrive Read, and it allows you to read the book in a browser. And you can do that on your mobile device. You can also do that on your computer. So just a couple different things. If you want to be one of those fun people who shares everything that they're reading and watching on Facebook or Twitter, you can do that maybe more appropriately in Goodreads. So that's the settings section there. So now I'm going to just show you the kind of library, and this isn't really OverDrive here, but OverDrive integrates the library page into its software, so it really makes sense to show you a little bit the library page. So if you can remember how I got here, is I just opened this up and I clicked on my library. Okay, and that's going to bring me to this page here. Okay, so this is where you can search for different books. You can see there's some new ebooks that are there. It seems like every time I come in here, it refreshes and it has different books that it wants to suggest for me to read. And let's just, we can do an advanced search, a regular search to find different types of books, or we can just search by those categories. So just in the interest of time, I'm just going to select one of these books. So we'll select this one right here. And you can see it's slowly ticking away. There's the bar up on the top. So I have this book, The Idealist. And this book, this page will give you some information on the book and what options are available for it. So you can see on the right, there's the different available formats. So there's Kindle Book, OverDrive Read, Adobe EPUB, eBook. So what those mean are, a Kindle Book, you can actually click on that, and then it will push the book to your Amazon account. And then you can, from your Amazon account, you can tell which registered mobile device you want to push that to. So, for example, I selected a book earlier and brought it into my Kindle library, and it's just this fairy tales book, and I pushed that over to my Amazon account. So you can do that if you want, but you can also keep them in your OverDrive account with either the OverDrive Read, which is the online version through the browser, or the Adobe EPUB ebook. And so then you have just the different subjects of where this book fits in, how many copies are available. There's only one, and there's one in the library, so if I want to read this, I better click on it real quick and borrow it, or it's going to be gone. Seems like all the good books are checked out. So it's one of the disadvantages doing the books like this rather than the Mayan. Anyone could check out as many as they wanted. But you have a lot more titles through this, which is nice, the titles that your library has. So let's see. So we have this book. I've showed you all the different things on it. This one doesn't really have, some of the titles have like reading levels that you can click on. I'll show you what reading level the book is. And then this book, I could do a number of things with it. I can either add it to my wish list, which is that button right there, and that says, well, I'm interested in reading it, but I don't really want to get in line or download it now. It's just something I'd be interested in later on. So I can have it on my wish list. I can give it a rating if I've read it already and I liked it or I didn't like it, or I can just hit the borrow button and grab the book. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this book so you can kind of see what happens. Okay, so you'll notice there's a few books in there that I have checked out. Okay, and this is the library bookshelf. So you can see in the top right it says bookshelf. So that's what's like in the library. It's not what's on my mobile device. But these are books I have checked out to the library. So you can see what I have checked out. You can see if I have anything on hold, which I put a bunch of things on hold today, books I'm interested in reading. I can click on list. This is going to be that wish list, like I just added that book to there. And the settings is kind of nice because these are the default settings. So if you want to automatically check everything out for 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, you can check that option here. And so by default it says when I check out a book, I want it to be for 14 days, or an audiobook 14 days. I read kind of slow, so I'll probably put 21 on my ebook days. But I drive a lot, up to 2 hours a day, so I probably put 7 days on my audiobook. And then there's high contrast option for visually impaired. You can also select that. So those are the different settings in here. So I'm going to click back on the bookshelf. And you'll notice the title that I just downloaded, the Idealist. So I can either download it, and if I click on that download, it's going to give me the options. Do I want the Kindle or do I want the Adobe EPUB? Okay, and you'll also remember that I told you that you could read it through a browser. That's what the other format is for my option, the OverDrive Read. So if I click on that, it's going to open it up in a browser, and I can just read it through the browser. I don't have to download it. I mean, maybe that's good for at home, not ideal for a mobile device because you're not always connected online. But you'll also notice that below it, there's a button that says Return Title. So this is kind of my online bookshelf, and I haven't downloaded it yet, so I can return it right here. So if I want to get rid of this book, and because I got a checkout limit of 5, and I already have 4 checked out. I can only check out 1 more. So maybe I decide, no, I'm not going to read this one now. I can click on the Return Title button, and it says, you sure you want to return this? And I click OK. Okay, and then there, it's gone. Okay, but what happens if I've already downloaded? So all these other books I've already downloaded to a device, those buttons aren't there. So, if I read John Grisham's book really quick, if I want to return it, how do I do that? Well, that's easy to do as well. So I'll show you that in just a second. But anyways, when you download any of these titles and you click that, so it just adds it to your bookshelf. So these I've added to my bookshelf already. Okay, so if I slide this back over and I go to my bookshelf, you'll see the titles that I've downloaded to my iPad. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in looking at this John Grisham book. I can just tap on it, and the book loads up. And the reader's fairly good. I've seen better readers out there, but it works, and it has all the basic options for readers. And I can just slide my finger across and change pages. There's no fancy transitions with like the Apple iBooks, but anyways, you can flip to the books, and if you tap in the center, you can have options that come up, and on the top right, I can get a menu and go to any chapter that I want. I can go and change the brightness on the bottom right. I can change my font size. If you want some real crazy reading, you can click the 3 columns and read like a newspaper, I guess. Just your standard, options. I don't really like reading with a white background for some reason, so you read on black or sepia. Whatever you choose, and changing your font sizes. Okay. So If you don't want, if you want to get back to your bookshelf, you can click on the top left and get that menu. You can also slide, but you have to make sure you click in the middle and get this selection menu first, and then slide the page back to get your options. If not, you're just going to be turning the page on the book. Okay, so we're going to go back to the bookshelf, and here's my list of books. Now remember I said that I could return these books, some of these types of formats I can return early if I want. Not all of them, but like the Adobe format, for example, you can return the book early even though I've already downloaded it to my device. So let's say, you know, I decide, well, I don't really want to read The Great Gatsby because I don't like how they've taken the most recent movie and put that on the cover of a classic book. You know, I'm real petty like that. So what I'm gonna do is tap and hold on the book and see how those options come up. I can delete the book, return it, or share it. So I would not suggest to delete it. I would suggest to return it. Deleting it is just going to take it off the device. But if I return it and I hit that button, it says, "Are you sure you want to return this title?" And I click return, then it's gone. Okay? So the cool thing is it automatically communicates with the online library and tells the online library that I've returned the book. So I'll show you how that looks. If I swipe over here on my feature selection and I go back to my library, so I'm going to click on the top left one again where it says Pioneer Utah's Online Library. I click on that. Okay. Now it still shows on here, but I'm going to hit the refresh page and it refreshes, and look, it's gone off my bookshelf. And guess what? I only have 2 titles checked out. I have 3 remaining, so I can clear it up and select some more titles if I want. So I really like that feature. It's really nice, but you just need to remember when you're in your bookshelf that you need to press and long hold on it for that menu to come up to get that. Okay. All right, something else that I wanted to show you, let's just go back to the library, is if you're looking for a book, we'll just come to the menu here, and I'm just going to click on All Fiction eBooks. One of the hardest things to do is find like available books to check out, and they're not always there, especially the more popular titles. So if you look at this selection here, you'll see that they all have this book, like a picture of an open book in the top right hand corner, that little icon. So if it's gray like that, that means that the book is checked out. You'll have to be put on a waiting list. But see, if I scroll down here, I see some books that are dark, and that means that the book is checked in. So like this one, for example, The Alchemist, right here in the middle, that is available to check out. The one right next to it is not available to check out. Okay. So another way I can do this, instead of going through and kind of seeing which ones are there, is in the top left here, this blue button that says Show Me Only Titles with Copies Available. I can click on that, and that's going to give me a filter that only shows me available titles. So now I'm not getting real excited thinking that I can check out a book and seeing that there's 55 people on a waiting list. I can go through here and I see there's another John Grisham available that I can read right away, The Broker. Okay, so and then I'm not really going to get into the different filters you can do on the left-hand side, but if you're interested, and especially if you're looking for books that pertain to a certain age, you can look at the Lexile measures and pull those down, or the grade levels, and you can filter specific for that. I think this would be maybe the most beneficial piece for finding age-appropriate or reading level-appropriate books. And filtering them out. So you may want to do that. Like grade 1, I can see there's only one book that's available to check out that fits in the all fiction section So you kind of get yourself limited this way, but this is, just remember, this is available books that are able to be checked out. So so yeah, I think I've kind of showed you everything that I wanted to show you. So when you're on this search screen, though, to remember how to get back to like your main listings of everything, it's that account button at the top that has that person icon. You can click on it and get back to this area right here. Oh, and I was going to show you real quick before we finish this, like an audiobook, for example, that I've downloaded. So I can swipe over here on the left-hand side, and I can see the different files that I've downloaded here. I can see a history of the different books that I've looked at if I forget. And I can also go to my bookshelf and, oh, I don't have an audiobook. So let me show you that. So this is another neat way to get a book. If I just click on add a book right here, it will take me to the online library. And then I can click on audiobooks and have a selection of audiobooks come up. And really, this is simple to do. It's just like checking out another book. So this is one I see that's available. I can click on, I can hit borrow, and then it automatically downloads the contents to your device. So no need to worry about the technicalities and complications of downloading to an iPad. Yeah, you don't want to hear that one. Sometimes it is complicated to get stuff on the iPad, especially if you're new to it, so I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'm surprised I don't have that audiobook on there, but that's the only technical difficulty that I have, and I'm sitting pretty good. But anyways, I'm going to unshare my screen here, or maybe Tim can do it for me because I don't know where to push. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you. Okay, there's my unshared. Okay, so is there any questions? Love the desktop background. Okay, that doesn't really relate to what I'm talking about, but it is the coolest background you can get. You can download to browser caches. Okay, so it looks like Chris was answering a lot of the questions. Yeah, and the renewal. Yeah, Tim's right. It's about 3 days before. You can do an automatic renewal. I think it's only one time you can renew, though. But yeah, you'll see that renew option about 3 days before it's due. All right. Well, I think that's all. If there's not any other questions, I would just say go download the OverDrive app if you've seen it before but haven't looked at it in a while. Go check it out. Find some titles you're interested in, and show it to your students, and talk with parents about how to use it, and open up that possibility to read more. Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Justin. That was great. I think it's a great resource. I love using it. All right, so we're going to wrap up, and just a reminder, next week we will Mindy Hinsey will be with us, and she's going to give us a kind of an update on what's new in Canvas. I know lots of us are Canvas users, and lots of teachers and students are using Canvas, so it's always good to keep up with what they're doing and developing, which is Canvas is definitely a tool that is always updating and changing and hopefully improving. So hopefully you can join us next week. And with that, we're going to sign off. Have a good rest of your week, everyone.